Right, we are ready to go now. Thank you to people who may have started watching, who have been holding on while we set things up. Welcome to Golden Goal TV. We are back once again to review the weekend's Premier League action. I've also just enabled comments for people that are watching or that will watch. So feel free to tell us in the comments what you thought of some of the games we're going to talk about. And this link will also go out live on other social media platforms too. Now, we will have possibly Abdi at some point today, but for now, George, it's just me and you, sir. How are you?
I'm really good. Cheers, mate. Had a really good weekend. How are you?
I'm not too bad here. Can't complain about your weekend, eh? Well done to Surrey Cricket VI cricket team going to the finals day. Well done.
First time ever that a second division club's gone into National League finals day. So, for those who don't understand what that means, so in visually impaired cricket, you have two leagues. You have the National League and you have Development League. But in the National League, you have the first division and you have the second division. I'd say first division, if you're comparing it to football, is probably like your City, Arsenal, all the top clubs. Whereas division is a bit lower of the Premier League. So, yes, next weekend we're off to Wolverhampton. So we'll see what we can do.
No, that is pretty good. That is pretty excellent. So fair play for that one. Congratulations. And of course, we'll talk about Arsenal, Manchester United later, as you can see from the show title, which is today's show that is titled Red Devils Gunned Down as things get heated. Yes, we'll talk about that match and what happened afterwards as well. Say a certain words from Mr. Jadon Sancho. So let's first of all start with, while we were doing our live show, West Ham have gone top of the Premier League for a few hours at least anyway, with their win against Luton Town. Again, James Ward-Prowse helping out and Jared Bowen scoring and Kurt Zouma on the score sheet too, as West Ham beat Luton 2-1. George, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I thought as expected. I just think Luton is just a bridge too far for them this season, maybe. But yeah, West Ham playing some nice football. I think Bowen, that's like the first, it's either like for a long time or for West Ham, like the first person to score 3 away consecutive goals. So he's obviously at the forefront of their goals and their attack. I think Ward-Prowse is a massive signing for them because got all those players at West Ham. They never had no one who could lay it on a plate from. Now they've got a Premier League expert who does that week in, week out in JWP. So, like saying, I didn't really watch the game because we were doing our transfer show, but from the highlights I saw, West Ham kind of had it all in the bag, really. Yeah, fair play to them. I think the start they've had is quite good, so they'll be happy with that before going into the international break. I think they've got, how many points they got? Is it 10 or something like that? So
I think it's 10. Yes.
So they'll be happy with that. The way, especially now, is how they cope going into Europa League. I know people say they was in the Conference League last season, but they Europa League is different competition. Like it's like the people you'll be playing is a bit higher quality. But saying that, I don't think they've actually got a hard group. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see what they do. The way they're starting, if they can keep that up, there's no reason they can't challenge for those Europa League spots. I don't think anyone realistically thinks they'll be going for a top 4 finish. So yeah, fair play to them. I think they've got Man City next, so there'll be a test there.
It is Manchester City, isn't it? It is Manchester City indeed, actually. So that'll be interesting. I mean, I think a lot of West Ham fans, bearing in mind that West Ham's league form last season was a problem. even though their European campaigns were very successful. I think people will be very happy. West Ham fans should be very happy with the way West Ham started now. And of course, once the European football kicks into play in a few weeks' time, it will be interesting to see. But so far, West Ham need to get as many points as they can, to be honest. Now, am I correct in thinking, have they actually lost a game this season so far?
No.
They drew against Bournemouth. They beat Chelsea.
Yeah, so them, City, Arsenal, I think are the only ones who are unbeaten.
So if you maintain an unbeaten record as much as you can, before the European football kicks in, then that's really one of the key things you need to do, and I think that's really important. So yeah, there and Luton remain another team without any points. Two teams that have picked up points, though, is Sheffield United, Everton. And George, I don't know what your thoughts are, but for me, I thought that game, it was more of an exciting draw than I thought it would be.
Yeah, I think it's more of a bad result for Sheffield United because they were at home, so they want to be winning their home games if they want to stay up. There's more goals in it than I thought because Everton realised where the back of the net was. But what I will say is if it weren't for Jordan Pickford, Sheffield United should have won that game. He made like a triple save. So Everton have got a lot to thank Pickford for, as usual. It was attacking, what we like to see. Like I thought, Sheffield United, Everton, it's got 0-0 right all over us. But no, it was like one of the most exciting games of the weekend. There's still like dodgy parts that Everton's play. They just don't. They just can't control games in that midfield like they used to. And the players they have, you'd think they should be doing that. But Sheffield United just took their chances. So I suppose they'll be looking at it thinking, right, it's a point, but the way Everton have been playing, they could have got more. But I don't know how many points Sheffield United have got. I want to say 2.
Only one.
One, okay. Yeah, so it's not really been the greatest of starts for them. I was saying this to a friend at the weekend, like I've not really been that impressed with the promoted team so far. It's hard to say a bit about Burnley because they're like a game behind everyone else, but yeah, Sheffield United and Luton have not really impressed me. Like, if you said to me like now, if I could change my picks from earlier, like Sheffield United and Luton, they just look like Championship clubs, where the rest of the Premier League look just miles up. Like teams like Bournemouth and Nottingham Forest. Obviously, I know we'll come to them. They look 100 years better than say Luton or Sheffield United. I don't know what you think, Hubert.
Yeah, I think I have to agree with this, to be honest. You look at the promoted teams and you've got Burnley, who a lot of us have given this, and I was speaking to a few people about this yesterday, saying, everyone's given Burnley this hype, going, Burnley will be the different Burnley, and we'll come on to them in a second. But, and Sheffield United, don't get me wrong, I think people still had them relegated. And to be fair, you can see why it's fairly justified. I mean, the fact they drew with Everton, fair enough, but both of these teams are in one of these situations. I mean, Sheffield United looked more like a winning team there. Everton got a lucky draw, I'd say, especially with that amazing save at the end of the game for Pickford, which redeemed that own goal he scored. But yeah, I think Sheffield United, definitely that draw against Everton was a lucky one, and I don't genuinely think there's much in the promoted teams.
Did he go?
What's that?
It could actually score an own goal.
Yes, he did.
I'm not going to like the viewers, I didn't honestly know that because I was at goalball training.
No, I was listening to the game, and literally, I think it was it Norwood or someone scored for Sheffield United, did almost, but Pickford saved. But then there was a deflection, and it deflected off Pickford's head.
Right, because I had him in goal for FPL, and he only got me 1 point, and I was wondering, got booked. So I'm kind of glad he did do that save now, because otherwise he would have got mine.
Yeah, so not to be fair, it would. There's not much between them teams, but that's not really a good thing because the teams are still a struggle. And I think Sheffield United are in 17th place on goal difference, pretty much. So yeah, I think it'd be a tough time for them, really, and Everton, and Burnley and Luton too, really, unless they really get into it. But we'll move on to Burnley next, and Burnley Tottenham, as we'll talk about. It finished Tottenham 5, Burnley 2, and Burnley was pretty Burnley, and Spurs going and marching on well at the moment. Under Ange, even though they've lost Reguilon, they're going pretty well at the moment, George.
Yeah, Spurs are just doing what they should be doing against teams like Burnley. I saw bits of it. I think Son had a good game, like he just took his chances. And what I will say, Spurs did just go bam, bam, bam. And then there was a couple but I feel like I say this every time Burnley play. If they took their chances, there's difference in that game. Because at 1-1, then I can't think of his name. Was it Josh Brownhill had an absolute golden chance to make it 2-1 to Brighton, and he didn't put it away. I'm sorry, but you have to put these chances away against the bigger teams in the Premier League. Like, it's not like the Championship. You don't get 3 or 4 of those chances. So, but once again, Maddison pulling the strings at Spurs. That'd be my only not worry, but as from their point of view, if Madders got an injury or something, how they would cope after that. Because I just feel like how James Maddison's took the mental piece of what Harry Kane did. Obviously, I know he was many goals, and people will say, "Oh, but they've got Son, Kulusevski, Johnson, all that lot." But
Johnson still needs to come in the team, and we'll see how he does.
But they don't do what Maddison would do.
No, and it does feel at the moment like James Maddison is doing what Harry Kane's doing at the moment, and if he gets injured, that's a crucial piece for them.
But I will say, like, I still stick to what they say. Arsenal's the test for them, which is in a couple of weeks. It's a test for Arsenal and a test for Tottenham. I wouldn't like to call that game. I know everyone says Arsenal win because it's at the Emirates. Yeah, high chance we might, but Spurs are playing well. Like, you can't say anything else. Even if the hatred with the clubs, you have to see when the teams are playing well, they're playing well.
Can't deny them that.
No. So I think their weak spot is Richarlison. I don't think he's good. He's
it's not Everton's Richarlison, let's face it.
I don't even think it's Watford's Richarlison.
In general, he's not the player that Tottenham hoped for when they signed him.
So if you said to me, what would I do to change that team? I would be dropping Richarlison and playing Johnson, because he's proved he can play as a centre forward. He's proved he can play in all different places. So, but with the game, that Son got his hat trick. I know everyone says Son stepped up. Yeah, he did, but it's the first one he's done all season. So, like, I feel like that's like one of the first goals the attackers have scored at Tottenham. So, I didn't think it'd be 5-2. I'm not going to lie. I thought it might be like 2 or 3-1. But we'll see what happens with that. With Burnley, I think I've just got to forget about that. If they've got most of their players not on international break, work together, reset, like we always say, the cliche championship team. The promotion teams' home games are their bread and butter, where they get their 3 points. You might see one of these teams win 1 or 2 games, bring their confidence, and then they'll be hard to beat. I still think Burnley are the best out of the three, but I
Yeah,
think is Burnley's saving grace is how poor Everton are.
well, yes, but you're looking at how long that will continue. Burnley are going to have to take it in their own hands at some
If it
stage.
goes on all season, it goes down to the thing that is there 3 teams that are worse than you? And if there is, then you escape. If there isn't, that's when you've got a battle on your hands. But I think with Burnley, Peter got to give them time. You've got to think this is Vincent Company's first proper job. Like, I know he managed Anderlecht, but over here, he's still very inexperienced. Would I be too worried about a massive loss at home to Spurs? Probably not, because Spurs are on the high at the minute. They've got a new manager. They always do this, as we all know. They start really well, and then it tails off. So I don't know who Burnley have got next. So, but if they've
Nottingham Forest is the next Burnley game.
that's a game that they could win. I'm not saying they will, but they could.
Forest.
Yeah, obviously, if it's a Forest, they'd be a bit more favourites. But no, it's like we say, it's still early to say. But I think the problem what Burnley may have this season is scoring goals.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens. I think it is early days yet, and there's technically probably at the moment teams worse than them. I mean, the fact that they've got no points on the board is their problem at the moment, because even some of the teams that are, Everton have been doing poorly, but they do have 1 point more than Burnley at the moment. So it remains to be seen what happens. I think Forest Burnley will be a tricky game, but home or away, Burnley really need to start getting something from these sorts of fixtures.
Well, as you look at the game in hand, Burnley Luton, whoever
huge.
Whoever wins that, or if there is a winner, that gives them a bit of momentum.
Well, yeah, because it's the teams around them that they need to be better at. It's not, sure, if you take points against the big teams, brilliant, but really it's the teams around you that's when the results have to happen. And depending when that Luton game gets played, that could be a crucial result at the time. So I have to wait and see. Moving on to the next game, and we will talk Nottingham Forest, actually, and Nottingham Forest getting a very surprise win against Chelsea. It finished Nottingham Forest 1, Chelsea 0, and it was at the Bridge. So again, that's a huge result for Forest, George.
Yeah, we've been saying that Nottingham Forest have got to sort their away format, and then they're going to get a big 3 points at Chelsea. Fair play to Forest. I thought they played quite decent, done what they had to do. I just think the bigger story of the game is Chelsea. So that banter in Chelsea, because they're going to have a lot of it, and people can say, "Oh, £1 billion, you can't even beat Forest." Just they have points, but there's so much side, so split. You split off from the billion for what Chelsea. I know the process and that, but some of it just don't make sense to me, Hugh. But obviously, you're a Chelsea fan yourself. But like, you're seeing Chilwell at left wing, who's a left back. You're seeing Colwell, playing at left back, who's a centre half. Why don't you just play players probably where their position is until you're actually winning some games and you've got some credit in the bank? Because let's be real, Pochettino ain't got that credit yet because he's only just come in. Once again, you can see that they haven't got a proper striker. I feel like if you have a proper centre forward, a good 3 or 4 of those chances that you boys had will go in. I've not really been that Casado hasn't been playing that. He ain't started that well for me, but maybe the price tag's weighing heavy on him. I don't know what else to say, mate, about Chelsea. Like, it's not any different than what I've said for the last year.
I think when it comes to Chelsea, what I will say is, playing players in the right position it's obvious, and I'm confused with managers that play players out of position. That baffles me. But, my big thing is the overreaction from Chelsea supporters. The fans were fuming. There are all sorts, apparently, pitiful start and all that. I think whether we had a pitiful start to the season, we've not had a great start. Let's be honest. We got 1 win, I believe.
Yeah, against Luton.
Yeah, 1 win against Luton and then a draw and 2 losses. So it's not brilliant, but it's early days of the season and people are already overreacting. And I think that's what really kind of doesn't help, because if fans already overreact, then the players will feel that. And I do personally think that reacting a bit chaotically and a bit over the top at this point in the season is just a bit ridiculous. I mean, we've only had 4 games. Let's be honest. Okay, if you were saying this like after the next international break or around Christmas, then fair enough, I'd agree. But
I just think with Chelsea, I know people predicted them to get Champions League.
Yeah, but we did a stupid prediction.
I just don't understand. I don't think people watch football enough to say, like, for me, I've said Chelsea will get Conference League, and I think if that happens, that's a very good season for Chelsea.
Coming back into European football would be a result, and
where they should be, granted, not where they should be, but I think people forget how awful Chelsea are or have been.
Like, people forget how disjointed the club is.
Yeah, like they've brought in over 20 odd players. Them players still have to all gel. Whether we think they should be spending the money or not, they've still done it. It don't matter. That money's spent, it's done. But like, you go through that team, Saturday, Sanchez, new player, Gusto, new, Jackson, new,
Colwell, technically new to the starting lineup.
The only ones who ain't really new are Chilwell,
Sterling,
and that's it, isn't it? Manukes. I can't say his name, but Manuke, is it, or something?
I think that's how I'd say it.
Really, but that's what I mean. That's all those new players. They've got to gel. They've got to adjust. That's why I think a Conference League is more achievable than the Champions League spot. Like if you're being honest, I don't see Chelsea getting above Man City, Arsenal.
Not at the moment.
No. Brighton.
I think
maybe, I don't know, Liverpool. I don't know. Like what I'm saying, at the minute, at the end of the day, Pochettino and Chelsea have got to find their best team. And I don't think he knows that yet, which is fine. That's fair enough, because the players he's got at his disposal, it's hard. Plus, Reece James is injured. People say he's always injured. Yeah, he might be injured still, but he's still a big player for Chelsea.
He is a big player, but you don't often feel his impact because of how rarely he plays, I think is the point. It's like what I said about Reece James to one of my friends yesterday, where Reece James is a great player and he's fantastic. However, you don't really feel his impact because of how rarely he plays.
Yeah. Like, if you say to me, who do I think Chelsea's best team is? I would probably say it'd have to be Sanchez in goal. because I think Robert Sanchez is a very good goalkeeper. I just don't think he gets the praise he should. Then if he was fit, is James, but he isn't, so it'd be Gusto. Then the centre halves is where I'd be looking at, and probably the one he bought from Monaco, Colwell, Chilwell, and then this is where like Enzo Fernandez. I'd be playing Enzo Fernandez, Conor Gallagher, and then Sterling, Nkunku when he's fit, which is hard as a miss for you. But this is when you run out of options because you're like, who do you pick? Like, because they've got so many attacking options, you don't know who they're going to go for.
Well, I think another point mentioned really was that Chelsea still, regardless, do have too many players. I mean, don't get me wrong. When people criticise that Chelsea spent the money, I think a lot of people have this stupid illusion that because you spend a lot of money and when things don't work, you're allowed to say that, oh, but you spent a lot of money, how can it not work? And I think my big message to these idiots is simply to say, just because you spend a lot of money doesn't mean it all got to work. As we said on the live transfer show, when Jonesy and Ray were discussing Todd Boehly, and we said, Todd Boehly can spend all the money he wants, but the problem is, if these players don't work, then whether you paid 50p for them or 50 million or 50, or 50 billion, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how much money you spend at the end of the day. If the players you bring in don't perform, then the money you spent on them doesn't mean anything because it's about the player themselves rather than the money. But people put so much emphasis on how much money is spent without logically thinking about the end product at the end of the day.
When you look at it, players who have gone for big money, Harry Maguire, that's obviously worked. Nicolas Pepe, that obviously worked. Jadon Sancho. You know what I mean? So just so people don't think I'm just starting on Man United, but Pepe was a lot of money.
Modric,
yeah. I don't know with Chelsea. I just think they need to. It's that Pochettino says you've got to trust the process. They're nicking our tagline, I would just be patient, like at the end of the day, because when Arteta took over at Arsenal first, we finished 8th out of everything. This is Pochettino's first season with him. Even if Pochettino gets Chelsea 7th or 8th, I've said this from day one. Chelsea will be more of a dangerous side next season than this season because they would have had Pochettino for a whole season. He'll be able to bring these players in because let's get it right. We don't know how many of them players Pochettino actually wants. I'm not saying they'll sell them because unless Saudis come in with stupid bids, but like in the next summer, but Pochettino's got to be able to put his stamp on it, and he's not really been able to do that yet. And he's only been there 5 minutes. So all these Chelsea fans getting emotional, there's a lot of emotional social media fans, mate. So I try to veer my associations away from them. But yeah, they lost to Forest 1-0. Not a great result. But then Chelsea could go and win their next game 5-0. I'm not saying they will, but they could. So I think Chelsea is just going to be it's all going to be about the inconsistency until they.
It's a long process. It's simple as, and as much as I don't associate myself with the social media fans, it's just it baffles me how people expect instant results, and quite frankly, that's not the case in football.
It's self-entitledness.
The best results often come with time. You look at the managers who have been given time, and they are the ones who have taken their clubs the furthest. Look at Mikel Arteta at Arsenal. Look at what Graham Potter did at Brighton while he was there. All of this was managers who have been given time to do what they were doing. Look at Eddie Howe at Newcastle. There's so many examples of managers being given time to do what they needed to do, and it wasn't all about the instant results.
But even that, mate, I know we'll come to them later, but I've even heard people this weekend saying he should be sacked.
Who?
Eddie Howe. Like,
We'll come on to Newcastle, but yeah, that's unsurprising with the football community these days.
The self-entitled fans, the FIFA fans, as I call them, they expect to be beating, playing prime Barcelona and winning 4-5-0 every week. Arsenal have got fans like it. United definitely have. Liverpool, Newcastle. But getting back to Chelsea, I wouldn't be too. Obviously, you don't like your team losing. I'm not discounting that, but at least Pochettino, for the players who not, I don't know if there's many players that Chelsea have got that have been picked, but if they haven't, like again with like the lower teams, they can work on stuff in the close, like in the international break. And I don't know, who have you got next?
Bournemouth.
That's what I mean. Like if you lose to Bournemouth, then I'd be more worried then.
Yeah, but that's still said that's early in the season.
Yeah, but
I'd be that concerned.
You don't want back-to-back defeats.
No, you don't. But it's kind of like, at which point do you start to worry, and at which point you're going to think, well, hang on, it's early days. At which point do you stop the early days chat? And I think it's still.
I wouldn't be like worried that like you're going to get relegated or any of that, but I'm saying like it'd be a concern if you like, especially if you put bad performances in, and again, because you don't want it to go on about a bit of a rut. But that's just my view on it.
I think it remains to be seen. As I said, I'm not too concerned about this result, but we'll see what happens in the long run. I think, like I said, if you buy a lot of players, regardless of the point I said before, investment needs to come good, and that's always a risk you take. But squad needs to gel, like you said, George. So yeah, we'll see on that one. Next game, we can briefly touch on Man City Fulham, because it wasn't really anything surprising or unexpected. Is there anything in that game that you thought is worth a mention?
I think the VAR again.
Yeah.
How Fulham's goal gets disallowed, I just don't understand. But fair play to him. Even Erling Haaland's come out and said that he understands and agrees with Marco Silva for behaving the way he did. I don't know. It's just, Ian Wright put a good tweet out today. Like, instead of talking about the games, we spend hours and hours talking about VAR. So it takes all the
problem.
That's the problem.
I said this to a few people yesterday I was talking to. Not a week goes by when VAR doesn't get mentioned at least 3 times.
But used as an excuse as well.
Like
when, I've heard, and I'm not aiming this at all United fans, but I've heard, we'll come to the game later, but I've heard them saying it's VAR's reason the result happened. It's not.
Not really, not at all.
So I just think it's used as an excuse now. But I don't know, mate. I hear some people say, "Oh, is it corruption because City got away with saying it again?"
I don't think it always is. I mean, it's all good to throw that around for a laugh, but not in this case.
Yeah, I don't know anymore. It is definitely in the officials are just they're rubbish. But it's worrying how blatant these decisions are, and they're being the wrong decisions. We could go into a really deep, dark side of it. No one knows who these officials support. Not truly. All it takes is one on me or you to go and be a referee and say, "Oh yeah, we support Barnet or Portsmouth." And then they put us in charge of, say, like an Arsenal or a Chelsea game. Well, what they're going to do? Check their social media? I bet they don't. So I don't know.
No, but to be fair, with social media checks, I mean, when you look at getting certain jobs, they check people's social media. Should more be done to screen referees?
Yeah, that's. I'm wondering as well. Like, I don't know, mate. To be fair, like they've got to do something. What is interesting? So I was listening. I think it was mentioned. It might have been on one of our shows or something else. Is why we always just stick to English or British referees in the league. When you look at other sports, like we'll use cricket for example, when they have umpires, it's not very often they have an umpire from the same country. So why is there no? Why couldn't they mix it up and say in one Premier League have 2 or 3 officials from either Italy, Netherlands, Spain, anywhere, or if you get what I mean, and vice versa.
Yeah, that's a good point, and I think it frustrates me how often refereeing becomes a topic of debate, but you can't help it. It's one of these things where when these issues come up, they can be game changing, and yeah, it's one of these things. But yeah, there's that one. That was the headline. We'll move on quickly to the next game, and we mentioned Eddie Howe, so mentioned Brighton, Newcastle, and the game finished Brighton 3, Newcastle 1. Newcastle, after beating Villa, results have not been great. Lost to Man City, lost to Liverpool, and lost to Brighton, George.
Yeah, I think they was unlucky against Liverpool, don't get me wrong, but they threw that away. But I think they absolutely got battered against Brighton. Thought Brighton dominated it for most of the game. I don't know if someone from Brighton was watching us, but I think I remember. Did I say to you on the transfer show, Ferguson? I don't see what he's done to warrant being.
I did find it quite funny that you were basically shitting all over him. We all were very keen, and next thing you know, he scores a hat-trick. It's another Alexander Lacazette moment against Wolves.
But you know what, mate? He took every single goal brilliant. I can see why a lot of people, especially at Brighton, are mad on him. 18 years old and to be doing that against a Champions League team. Because let's be real, that's what Newcastle are. So well done to the boy, really, Ferguson. It reminds me a lot of an early Robbie Keane. Like when Robbie Keane burst onto the scene. I'm trying to think who he started at when he came in. It might have been Coventry or Leeds or somewhere like that. But yeah, he done really well. I know Newcastle got a conversation with Wilson, but yeah, they was. So what says they were never in it at all. And this just shows how well Brighton are. Like I know they had a dog. Who is it? I'm trying to think. They lost to West Ham. I know they lost to West Ham and that, but Brighton just ripped apart the Champions League side. So they've still got some really good players as well. I did see someone say that they're the English version of Borussia Dortmund, and I think they might have a point, especially how they nurture the young players and the nice football they play. Because whatever, Dortmund played nice football as well. But I think praise has to go for De Zerbi, and yeah, you don't really want to be playing Brighton, do you? Really? Newcastle. I've said it all season, mate. I know, I just feel like this is a season when Newcastle are going to get found out because I don't think they've had a good enough transfer window. So like people saying, "Oh yeah, but we should have beat Liverpool," but you didn't. It's like at the end of the day, you've only.
It's not about what you should have done. It's about what hasn't happened, really.
Like you've only got 3 points, I think. So
they're only on 3 points at the moment.
Let's be honest, they've got 2 more points than Sheffield United. So, yeah. Yeah, I think they've had a pretty awful start. It doesn't matter whether you should have done this, should have done that, you haven't. finishing in Champions League and or going for title. This is why I've said they're miles away from the title, mate. Like, I feel like I feel like Arsenal or even Liverpool got a better chance of winning the league and Newcastle have. So I think this season will just be another probably balancing, trying to challenge to stay in the top four and see if they can win a trophy and how far they go in the Champions League, really. But they've got to learn how to switch games up, not just play the same way. And when one thing don't work, that they stop. Like Sandro Tonali had quite a bad game, but as soon as Sandro don't click, they ain't got nothing. And I think that's the issue.
Yeah, I think when it comes to Newcastle, they've bought Tonali, which is their star signing, but other signings that they've bought, they're not even starting some of them, and it confuses me. Like Harvey Barnes, did he actually? I can't remember. Did he start this game?
I used to find Newcastle exciting last season as well, but this season I find them a bit dull and boring as well.
Well, they've only won one game. Let's be honest.
Yeah, like even when they were playing, like if they're losing games and it's exciting, I don't know what it is really. Like you say, Anthony Gordon, Harvey Barnes, Livramento, Lewis Hall. I don't think Lewis Hall played, did he?
I don't think so, but I've not watched the game. So
Anthony Gordon was always a weird one for me because I didn't know what to make of him. But Harvey Barnes, I don't understand why he's not starting.
That's what really confuses me.
He's
a really good signing, quality player at Leicester, and he carried Leicester City. Here, he can play with players that he doesn't need to carry yet. He's not starting.
No. I think, I don't know who's Newcastle got next. Is it?
Let me check. Hold on.
I think it might be.
It's Brentford.
The way Newcastle are playing, I don't know. I wouldn't rule anyone out of that game. Like, I know it's at Newcastle, but Brentford, like, it's not an easy game. So we'll have to see what happens. But I'd be more concerned if I was a Newcastle fan than a Chelsea fan at the minute. That's how poor I think Newcastle have been. And I know people say it's early in the season, but as they say, mate, you can't win a title at the start of the season, but you can definitely lose it.
Yep, and it'll be interesting to see what happens with Newcastle. They're certainly not doing as well as people would have hoped for, but we move on to Sunday's games, and we'll talk Liverpool-Aston Villa. Liverpool beating Villa 3-0 with Mo Salah on the score sheet amongst others. And from Liverpool's point of view, yeah, they carry on. But Villa, I mean, they were very disappointing. I was watching the game, and it was quite a disappointing game for me, really, when it came to seeing what Villa did. I mean, I didn't expect them to take Liverpool to task, but I expected this game to be a little bit more close.
This is the issue with Unai Emery teams, mate. Like, I've known it from experience. You can beat anyone on the day, but it's the consistency levels. Like, you look at it, they've been playing really well against teams, but been smashed by Newcastle and, let's be honest, Liverpool. I don't know, like, with Villa, is it going to be like that from, like, inconsistent throughout the season? It just wasn't in it, really. Matty Cash, if you're him, you go from being like an amazing hero, getting a 16-point haul on FPL and then scoring an own goal the next week. Yeah, luckily he was on my bench.
And you know, there was clearly disagreements within the Villa squad between Ollie Watkins and Leon Bailey, and it's
just you don't need to, really. But
interesting one.
Obviously there was a bit of atmosphere there with them boys, but I think Villa will bounce back. They've got I want to say Luton at home. I might be wrong. It's either Luton or Burnley, one or two. No, it's not Burnley, it's Luton. But so they should hopefully bounce back there.
Crystal Palace next for Villa.
The Palace is Fulham that have got Luton. Yeah. So Crystal Palace, I think Villa can beat them. I know Palace won, but I don't think they're the greatest. So I've said though, like every team can beat every team in the Premier League. Like
that's what makes it exciting.
The only team that looks like they're a bit ahead of everyone else is City as usual, but I'd be interested to see what happens. I think that's going to be a massive test, City against West Ham, but Liverpool just done what they had to do. Really, they were like quite clinical. Salah got his goal, which will probably settle him down a bit after all the Saudi chat. I understand why Liverpool fans say they wouldn't sell him, but I just think the money that's being offered is ridiculous. So
I'd be saying they should take the money. And I've had people say Salah's irreplaceable, but is he really? You know, you can say that about any player. It's been said about many players before who have been replaced.
Every club could think that. Could say that about Harry Kane, Arsenal, Thierry Henry, Man United with Ronaldo, when not the last time, the time before, or Chelsea, Drogba, or Lampard. So I get what they're saying. Like if Liverpool offered 200 million at the start of a window, then they're mugs not to accept that for a 31-year-old. But I don't want to see Salah go to Saudi, because then I think that makes the Premier League weaker, and a lot worse. So, but I'm trying to think who scored the other two goals. Oh, Szoboszlai, wasn't it?
Szoboszlai, yeah.
That's a very good goal. I think that Arnold set up a goal. I think he set up a goal, but now he's injured. Similar to Finn, like his injuries problem. So, yeah, Liverpool not really had a bad start, to be fair, have they? Like, they've not been like as good. It's not been as clinical as everyone thought, but now they've signed Gravenberch as well. They're getting everything come together, so I think they'll be there and thereabouts. They'll move on to their next game, which is, I don't know who that is, but it's not Everton.
Wolverhampton.
So that's a game that they probably should win as well.
Well, we're going to stop with Liverpool Villa now, because we've got a guest who has creeped in to the Zoom meeting just in time for us to talk Arsenal, Manchester United. Hello, Abdi.
Impeccable timing, eh?
What timing! What a timing! Just in time to talk what happened yesterday, and I've got a few questions in regards to this. So,
I don't know how long I've got. My phone is. I literally just got my phone is like 14%, I believe. So
okay, so I'm
trying
gonna
to get snappy.
Give us your views on the game, and then afterwards, I want to ask you what's your view on the Jadon Sancho situation.
No worries. My view on the game. I must start by saying it wasn't a 3-1 game. If you know what I mean, in terms of it wasn't that kind of game where it just, those last two goals was just bang, bang, really, and Arsenal took it away from us in a way. And you know what? Credit to them, because they were switched on, they were ready for it, and they pushed all the way to the end to get the 3 points. So, yeah, that's all I can say on that part of the on the scoreline. As for the rest of the game, I wouldn't say either team played particularly well. I thought it was an okay game. Um, I thought we did what we need to do to sort of nullify Arsenal um, coming forward for the most part, and they didn't have that many chances. Um, and then we sort of caught them with Rashford for the opening goal, but typical United switched off, weren't ready to and focus. They sort of let Arsenal just straight back into it, with Odegaard coming straight back down the other end, which was frustrating to see, but expected with United recently. I don't know if they can sort of control their emotions within game, sort of thing. Like when something goes against them, their heads sort of drop, and the floodgates could open. Like, so yeah, in that aspect, first half it was okay. Second half, similar, but I'd say the game opened up a bit more second half, as it would. Um, and the Garnacho. Well, let me go to the penalty incident first. Right call. It wasn't a penalty in the with Kai Havertz. Um, Kai more initiated the contact than when I looked at it initially, I was like, oh, that's a penalty because it from distance, it wasn't. They didn't show a close up. It was like I was just watching it from distance, and I was like, yeah, that doesn't look good. And I understand why the on-field official gave it in the first place because um, it just looked like a stonewall penalty. But when VAR interceded and asked for a review, it clearly shows that it wasn't a penalty. So I feel like the right decision was made, and that's what VAR is paid to do. Doesn't always do the correct things, but on that one, I felt like it did get it right. The Garnacho, I thought he won it for us, and then afterwards, you see the line drawn on. When I look at that image, I'm just like, it looks so weird. It really does. Offside's offside at the end of the day, so I can't really say much in terms of that. But when I look at it, it just doesn't look that way. But I can't say too much. I'm not going to use that as a thing saying, oh no, the referees screwed us, this or that. Offside's offside at the end of the day. So it's unfortunate, it's heartbreaking. And then afterwards, 96th minute or whatever it was, Declan Rice does what Declan Rice needed to do. I feel like we were poor in that sense because he had so much time to wind up that shot that we couldn't get out to him. There was a bit of an incident where I think Gabriel was holding Evans back a little bit, and then it took a deflection, and it was unfortunate for Onana, so you couldn't really do much about that. And game was gone at that point, and the third goal was just the cherry on top of the icing for Arsenal, with Jesus. So yeah, well done to Arsenal. They get the 3 points. I feel like 1-1 would have been a fair reflection of the game in terms of both sides' performances. But yeah, Arsenal did the business and they got the job done. Positives for United. I've had time to reflect on it, and I feel like there are positives to take away from that performance. I feel like Højlund looked bright when he came on. He caused problems for Gabriel in terms of making it more physical for him because Martial wasn't doing that, and it gives us a different sort of option. And yeah, I feel like from what I've saw so far from him, it looks bright. I'm not going to get carried away and say, yeah, he's the future. He's going to bang in 30 something goals this season or whatever. No, that's not the expectation. But he does give us something different, and he did look good. So I just hope that he can sort of keep that up and keep going. And yeah, I thought Dalot had a very good game. Kept Saka pretty quiet for most part. Um, and yeah, I except for the third goal, but the game was done at that point, so it doesn't really matter. But yeah, there are positives to take forward into the next few games, but it does leave a sour taste to lose it in that fashion and then going into the international break, or you have to wait 2 weeks to right it wrong like that. But it doesn't get any easier because playing Brighton Munich on the Saturday and then Bayern Munich on the Wednesday. So yeah, it's going to be a very tough start after the international break as well. So hopefully we can start getting into gear and turning things around. The injuries don't help as well. They're sort of piling up on us a little bit here. And to finish the game with Maguire and Evans as our centre back pairing was a joke. And I said I was scared as soon as I saw both of them come on. And I was proven right. But yeah, that's any other questions you have, feel free to hit me at them. George, if you have anything to say in response, feel free.
Before we go into George's response to what you've said, I want to ask you about Jadon Sancho.
Jadon Sandwich.
So he said he said that he feels like a scapegoat after Eric Ten Hag's comments. I mean,
I saw him.
What's your view on that? I mean, is he right to feel like that? Is he overreacting? I mean, he's not exactly been the Jadon Sancho that was playing at Borussia Dortmund since he came to United.
Yeah, it's disappointing so far how Sancho's time at United has gone. I don't feel like he should have come out of those comments. I feel like he could have approached it in a different manner. I don't think what Ten Hag has said was incorrect. To be fair, I don't know because I'm not a part of their training session. So whatever Ten Hag sees is up to him, really. He didn't say it in like a negative way in terms of, well, when you read the quotes that seem negative, but like when I'm saying, he just said it sort of matter of factly rather than saying it in a way where, for example, Jose Mourinho, when he was United boss, like he'd chew out a player and bring in like something or another, but it wasn't in that sort of manner. But I don't feel like he should have made that statement because it just makes more of an issue for the club and makes it more of a joke and a circus going on. And we don't want to get back to that sort of. I don't think we ever left truly because, you know, there's still clowns running it from the top. So you're going to have still clowns running about. And I don't like when the players try and override the manager because the manager's there to do his job and control the team. I don't care if you disagree with the manager. You need to sort of show him and prove him wrong and show him why you need to be picked week in, week out. And if the manager says you ain't cutting in training, then you need to step it up. I heard Wan-Bissaka was out in the cold for like 4 or 5 months. We didn't see him until after the World Cup. And no one heard a word from him, didn't say anything, just kept his head down and got on with it and came back. And now look, he's displaced Dalot and he's on, well, at the moment, number one right back. So Jadon Sancho, if he wants to be playing week in, week out, he needs to step it up and prove it. It's a frustrating situation to see. I don't like it, but I understand in a way his point of view, if you feel frustrated with it, but I'd rather you go talk to the manager and sort it out like that and actually out one face to face, you know, rather than doing it over social media and airing the dirty laundry in public. It's not a good look.
Okay, yeah, I do agree with that, to be honest, to an extent. It's fair enough if you're not happy, but putting it on social media, I think it's basically causing drama, and you know you're causing drama, and you know what you're doing. But that's that. George, you've heard Abdi's views. Let's go to your views about the game and, well, thought of a win for Arsenal.
Where do I start? I agree with Abdi on quite a few of the points. I don't think it was a 3-1 game. I thought, to be fair, either team could have won it. I did say that I thought it'd be a draw. So obviously getting the victory I'll take that every day of the week. But I thought the battle of the game was actually Wan-Bissaka against Martinelli. And I can't, trying to take my biasness away from it. I can't say who I think was better than the other one because I think they both cancelled each other out. There was times when Wan-Bissaka had Martinelli, but there was sometimes when
I'd actually edge it to Martinelli, not gonna lie. I feel like Wan-Bissaka didn't have him too marshalled in, and we gave away a lot of corners because of that, and somewhat unnecessary. But continue. Sorry.
Yeah, that's right. But I thought, to be honest, I thought Martinelli probably had his best game of the season so far. He hasn't been himself. I thought Saka was awful, to be honest. That might be more on Dalot, but I think the penalty. So where I'm at with it is, if that's for your team, I think you scream that's a penalty. If it's against you, you're crying that VAR changes it. So my thing on it is contact is contact. If that's not a penalty, then you book Havertz for stimulation or for dive.
Yeah, I agree. You should have been booked.
Yeah, so if you're saying that's not a penalty, then Havertz should have been booked. If I was a United fan, I'd say it weren't a penalty, but I'm not. I'm an Arsenal fan, so I thought it was a penalty. But I think the referee done some really dodgy things, like both sides. Like personally, Saka could have been sent off.
Yes, I'm glad you mentioned that. That's something I was thinking about. If it was any other player, like if that was Granit Xhaka for you guys last year or whatever, he would have been gone. If it was Casemiro for us, he would have been gone. It's sort of a reputation thing, and I don't like that. I feel like because it was Saka, they're like, he's a nice guy. We won't do anything. We'll give him a yellow card. That's about it. Was it a booking? I think it was a booking. But that was a bit of a nasty one, not gonna lie. And Saka didn't even get the ball. And I've seen Casemiro do something where he did get the ball and he still got sent off. So it was a sticky one, but yeah, he got away with one there.
On the other hand, I will say, and Abdi's probably going to disagree with me, is the foul on when Edin Nketiah nearly got super kicked out of the Emirates.
By Lindelof, right?
Lindelof.
He could have been sent off as well. He was lucky.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like both. Like I thought Lindelof had joined the bloodline. Like that. So
it wasn't a denial of a clear goal scoring opportunity though, because it wasn't anywhere near that. But yeah.
No, like it's just how high it was. So that's what I mean with that sense. And then when Garnacho scored, I thought, oh, here we go. But on the radio, I was into it because I was travelling, but John Murray said offside as soon as that ball went through. So soon I was a bit more comfortable with that. I'm just glad they remembered that to draw the lines at the Emirates. It's they normally forget. But then obviously, mate, like Rice, that's what 104 million, 105 million paid for. Like I know that there's games when you need your big to turn up, and Declan Rice done that. And I'm not going to jump on and be overhyped about it, but I thought Rice had a very good game as it was. And then just to do that, like you think Rice for us for years. So fair play to him. And I'll be completely honest with you, I didn't actually know it finished 3-1 until I saw a message in the group because I was trying to sort trains out because I got cancelled. So I missed the Jesus goal, but I've seen it. It was just nice to see him get a goal. And one player I think I'm hoping all Arsenal fans that slagged him off are having a
Fabio.
Like I think since the last couple of games, he's been an absolute revelation. So even Eddie Nketiah, I'll give him credit. He's done well as well. I think what changed the game is the two subs that got made. Like, I think changed the game for Arsenal was when Johnny Evans and Harry Maguire come on. I thought I'd gone back in time. I thought it was 2016 all over again. I thought I was just going back to college or something when I saw Johnny Evans come on. But
I cried.
I didn't.
I bet you didn't.
But
You're loving it.
I'll be honest, I thought that was probably the best I've seen Man United play this season.
Yeah, it was.
Do I feel? I don't know. Like you could easily say, like Abdi could say, United could have edged it. I think Arsenal could have edged it.
I think the draw would have been fair, but like either way, it could have gone either way. And it went in your favour. So it's the way the cookie crumbles sometimes.
I've seen some United fans saying that Arsenal over celebrated. I think this all this bullshit needs to stop.
No. I listen. If we won it like that in that sort of time frame when the clock was ticking away, and then after added a third on top of that, I'd be going nuts, mate. I'd be literally dancing down the streets.
I just think it needs to stop. Like, not just people and players and whoever will celebrate the game how they want to celebrate it. Like,
the people that have a problem with Arsenal over with any team over celebrating is the team that gets beat. That's the problem. That's the thing. They don't like the other team celebrating because they lost.
Yeah,
I don't like you guys celebrating,
exactly.
But I understand it.
But
as painful as it was.
A lot of the football insert.
It's a part of the game. It's a part of the game. Just enjoy it. Stop. Just stick up your ass.
Ramsdale's double. I thought that was quite important at one stage.
Ramsdale's what?
Ramsdale's safety. I think it was like a double save, like in the second half. So I thought he had a decent game. And just two final points on it. I think the twat who had a go at Roy Keane. I hope he thinks you're just a bit of a numpty, mate. So enjoy your lifetime ban. And I think the comment of the weekend. The comment of the weekend had to come from Mikel Arteta.
Oh my word! What is that man smoking?
What he said
he
about...
is a nut.
What was the comment?
So he's talking about Kai Havertz bedding into Arsenal, and he basically said, "Well, basically that's what I had to do with my wife when I married her. I had to chase her, and now everything's all good and it's all comfortable."
He did not say it like that. It sounded a lot more weirder than that. I'll try and find the quote. I'll try and find it. It's just Mikel's crazy.
I think it's a massive win. Well, Abdi finds the quote, but I think it was a massive turning point for Arsenal because we haven't played well at the start of the season. Like, no one has to think that I'm talking rubbish there because we haven't. But that is a massive win for us.
It is.
I think it's a big defeat for United. Just the way it went.
Moralizing.
I
found the quote.
As I was saying, like, does that put up? Like, I know everyone's saying how great City are and why Arsenal have been playing. We're not in the title race. We're miles away from City. I don't think we're miles away. But I think everyone's miles away from City.
Yes, I agree with that.
So Arsenal we're unbeaten still. Like I've said to you, Hubert, before, there's a team who are famous for creating their own song thanks to Robbie Williams. Let's see how big Ange does when he comes to the Emirates. Let's see who's going to get humbled.
Turn 24th, right?
Yeah. So
I'm ready. I will be there.
Because I can't wait to play Spurs. I'm more excited
to watch that.
But United fans, I know they'll be disappointed, and I'm not saying this to banter you, but I don't think you actually played. I think you played better than you did last season against us, but your issues all start from the top, because if the Glazers and all that are not there or don't do nothing, you don't have Johnny Evans and Harry Maguire.
Nope.
Defense.
That is why, and I know people say, like, "Well, they spend this much money." No, they've hamstrung us so badly. Why wasn't Amrabat playing for us against Arsenal? He could have. There was no reason for him not to. He's been waiting to join United since the end of June. We should have done it, and we're using FFP as a crutch and excuse and this and that. And by the end of it, we had to fork out 10 million euros as a loan fee and an option to buy for 25 million euros. So we got him in the end, but it was a waste in terms of how long it took for us to get. And we haven't got any centre backs anymore because, we're a shambles. Yeah. I've got the Arteta quote if you want
What's
to hear
the
it.
quote? Yeah, go on. And we'll wrap it up.
So I said to Havertz, things are bad at the moment. At the beginning, sorry. When I met my wife at the beginning, it was hard. It was hard to conquer her. It was hard. I had to try and manage her and go and go. Okay. And at the end, when she says, yes, we can be together, it's beautiful. He's a weird guy. He's a really weird guy.
The way it's the colourful way he puts things just adds a bit of a spin to it.
Yeah.
The legend.
He's comes out. He's been coming out with some weird stuff lately. The 43 formations, driving down Finsbury Road, doing his thing. He's an interesting character.
There's just the only thing I also want to say is if anyone does see Dallo, I think he's still in Holloway Road after Hayes.
Shush.
Right.
There was one thing as well. There was a clip circulating of Gabriel wrestling Højlund to the floor like an animal. Didn't get any checks on that one, but the game was gone anyway. So, but it's in the past now. But it was a frustrating one. So yeah, well done, Arsenal. Enjoy it. I don't know if it says much in terms of going forwards. How you'll be in terms of if you can continue in the title race. I don't think you, at the moment, because you can click and you can sort of start moving forwards and getting back to that level where you were last season. At the moment, you don't really look anywhere near it that you were like last season and towards City. So it'll be interesting to see over the next couple of weeks and after the international break how you sort of move on and collect points, because you've got some big games coming up, and the one that I'm looking forward to, 8th of October, Man City at the Emirates. So that's going to be the one I'm going to circled in, and I'm going to be keeping a very close eye on, because that will be very telling of where you are.
I'm looking forward
if you're close to them as well by that point.
And I think we played that back four for the first time,
which is a piss take. I saw Partey was injured, and I was like, advantage Arsenal, because Ben White's going straight back to right back. But that wasn't an issue because, he's Rashford's little boy. But anyway.
We'll see what happens. There's a lot of interesting things to come after the international break. But yes, we'll be interested.
I hate the international break. It sucks. Can we scrap?
Well,
please.
It's been debated a lot of times. It'd be nice to.
Please, it's pointless.
I mean, don't you look forward to England,
no,
Scotland?
No,
okay.
No, actually, that's a good game, but no.
Well, we'll keep an eye on things, but in the middle of international break, although we're away, the channel is not. There will be 3 pre-recorded shows you can expect from us. You will have, funnily enough, a discussion about the England squad coming up on Friday at some stage. So look out for that. On Monday, the 11th of September, you will have our review and predictions for the Champions League after the Champions League draw was carried out. And on Friday, the 15th of September, you will have a preview of the upcoming Premier League weekend's action and we will hopefully be back live on Monday, the 18th of September, with the review of whatever happens that weekend. So thank you, Abdi, for coming on.
No problems, bro.
However last minute and improvised it was appreciated. Where can people find you on Twitter?
You can find my ramblings on the Twitter machine with my meltdowns at aabdullahi26, at AABDULLAHI26.
Well, X is still going. George, where are you?
You can find me at George AWFC, or if that don't work, you can find me at Georgie Boy Boom.
Georgie Boy Boom. It's all about the boom.
Explosive name. And you can find me or at Hubert 3001. That is HUBERT 3001. And of course, you can find us at Golden Goal TV on X. And we've got a Facebook group, we've got WhatsApp, so you can be part of these circles too if you so wish. And of course, we've got this channel, so like this video if you found it amusing, entertaining, and anything else in between. Give it a like, subscribe to the channel, tell your friends, and click that bell icon to receive notifications, because you will get a notification as soon as our live streams start. So you don't want to miss them. And of course,
any videos when they drop.
And any videos when they drop, when I get them. So yeah, if there's an exclusive content video, we will upload it when we can have it. So yes, it's all there for you. Thank you very much for watching, either live or on demand. You will hear from us not the 9th. You'll hear from us on Friday, some of us anyway. So yeah, thank you all, and we will chat to you very soon.